Hi everyone, today we are doing differentiation year 1 EdXL, and in that we are doing chapter 8, 8.1 gradient of a curve. So when you talk about gradient, what is a gradient? Gradient is the slope. If I have a curve, I say curve. So a curve cannot have any fixed slope. So to find the gradient of the curve, you need to find the slope at a particular point. Okay, you need to find the slope at a particular point, and the curves would have different gradients at different points. So, to find the gradient of the curve, whatever is the equation of the curve, whatever will be the equation of the curve, you find the derivative of that equation dy by dx. Once you find the derivative of that equation, the derivative would become the gradient function of the curve. Then you can find the gradient of the curve at a particular point. Just substitute the value of that point into the gradient function, and you would get the gradient of the curve at the particular point. So you know that when you have a curve, this is my curve, the gradient of the curve will keep on changing. Since the gradient is going to keep on changing, you cannot find the gradient at a common gradient. So you have to find the gradient at the point. So your first rule is that the gradient of the curve at a given point, that means the gradient function, is the gradient of the tangent to the curve at that point. Okay, let's take an example. My gradient function would be dy by dx. Gradient function helps us to get the gradient at any point on the curve. So to get the gradient at any point on the curve, you just need to substitute the value of that point in your gradient function. Now let's take this with an example. I know my gradient function would be dy by dx. My question is, the curve equation is y is equal to x cube minus 4x square minus 2x plus 5. Calculate the gradient function and find the gradient of the curve at the point x is equal to minus 1. So for calculating the gradient function, what I am going to do, I'm going to simply do the derivative of the function. So I say dy by dx. The derivative of x cube would be 3x 2. To get a video on the derivatives, you can go back and search for the video of derivatives. Minus the derivative of 4x square would be 4 would remain as it is, and the derivative of x square would be 2x1 minus 2, since the derivative of x is 1, plus 5. So I get my gradient function as 3x square minus 8x minus 2 plus 5. So this becomes 3x square minus 8x plus 3. Now I want to calculate the gradient function when x is equal to minus 1. So I'm calculating the gradient of the curve when x is equal to minus 1. So what I'm going to do is that when x is equal to minus 1, I am going to substitute the value of the x in the gradient function. So our gradient function is the derivative of y. The derivative of this is 3x squared minus 8x minus 2, and the derivative of the number is 0. I think I wrote the number by mistake. So I have the derivative dy by dx, that is the gradient function, as 3x squared minus 8x at 2. Now I want to find the gradient of this function at point x is equal to -1. You just have to substitute in place of x -1 the whole square, -8 -1 -2. So this becomes 3 plus 8 -2, which is 9. So the gradient of the curve and the gradient of the tangent when x is -1 will be 9. The gradient would be 9. Now you can simply do this in the calculator also. But the substitution part, the derivative, you have to find it yourself. Now let's look at some exam style question, but we will use the calculator to work this out. We have our equation y is equal to x cube plus 2x square minus x plus 2. I need to find the gradient at the point x is equal to -2. Gradient of a curve. I need to find the gradient of a curve. This is not a straight line because a straight line would have the equation y is equal to mx plus c. So here I'm looking to find the gradient of the curve. In order to find the gradient of the curve, I need to find the gradient function, which is dy by dx. So to find the gradient of the curve, we first find the gradient function and then substitute the value of the point at which we want the gradient of the curve. So I'm going to get my dy by dx, which would be for 3x, it is 3x square. For 2x square, it would be 4x. For minus x, it would be 1. And for 2, it is 0. So I want to find the gradient when x is equal to -2. So at x is equal to -2, my gradient, that would be my dy by dx, is equal to, you just simply use your calculator, you can see over here. You press your shift and then you press your dy by dx at x is equal to something. Okay, you press your dy by dx, but now this is already your dy by dx, the value of the derivative of y at x. So now you put this equation, that is your x cube plus 2x square minus x plus 2, and I need this at x is equal to -2. It is here. This was a mistake. And I need this as x is equal to -2. So I get my gradient of the curve at the point x is equal to -2 as -2. So the gradient is -2. Now, our B part says that I want to find the x coordinates of the point where gradient is 3. That means they are telling me that my dy by dx is 3. This is nothing but my gradient function. So my gradient function is 3. That means dy by dx is 3 and I want to find the x coordinates. So I will use this. This was my gradient function. So this is 3. Now I just need to equate it and find the value of x. So what you have to do is you will minus 3 from both the sides. So you get 0 is equal to 3x square plus 4x minus 1 minus 3. So this becomes 3x square plus 4x minus 4 is equal to 0. Now you simply have to factorize it. So now we have the equation 3x square plus 4x minus 4. We need to solve this to find the value of x. We can use the quadratic formula where I could say my a is 3, my b is 4, and the c is minus 4. So my x would be minus b plus or minus root of b square minus 4ac over 2a. What you can do is you can put this in the calculator. So minus b, you will use different signs. First I use plus, then it would be root of b, that is nothing but your 4. B square minus 4ac divided by 2a, that is 2 into 3. So b square minus 4ac over 2a, that is your 6. So if you use the quadratic formula in your calculator, you can get the values of x, okay, the values of the x coordinate when the gradient is 3. You would get x is either equal to 2 by 3, or you would say x is equal to, in the calculator, in place of your plus, what you can do is now place a minus, or x is equal to minus 2. Now look at the type of sums that can come that is related to the gradient. Your type 1 sum is you directly find the gradient of the curve at x is equal to something. So you will be given the curve which will be in the form of y is equal to something. You will remove the derivative of it. Okay. And then find it at x is equal to something. The second type of sum that you could have is they will ask you to find the x coordinate of the curve when the gradient is given. If the gradient is given, that means they will give you the derivative dy by dx is equal to something is given. Okay, and now you just have to find the x coordinate by solving the equation. The type 3 sum that we're looking at, you will be asked to find the equation of the tangent of the graph. Now you should know that a tangent is a straight line. So the equation would be in the form of y is equal to mx plus c. So you will be asked to find the equation of the tangent at x is equal to something. You know that the gradient of the curve at a point is equal to the gradient of the tangent at that same point. Okay, so the gradient of the curve is equal to the gradient of the tangent. So the first thing you would do is you will find the gradient of the curve. And how do you find the gradient of the curve? Is you will find the derivative of it. That will give you the gradient of the curve at that point. So that will give you the gradient of the curve at that point. This gradient will be exactly equal to your gradient of the tangent, and tangent gradient is here m. I know the x coordinate because the x is given. Okay, now I need the y coordinate, that is the y-intercept. So the gradient is the same, x coordinate is known. Use with the help of the x coordinate and you would get the y coordinate. So you substitute the values of your x to get the y coordinate, and then you would substitute in the equation and find the equation of the line. Let's look at the sum of this, where you're asked to find out the equation of the tangent. So this is your third type of sum. You're asked to work out the equation of the tangent to the graph. Okay, at x is equal to 3. So you know that this is a curve that we have. So our function is y is equal to x square plus 9x raised to minus 1 minus 3. The first thing that I would do is I would find out the gradient at x is equal to 3. How would I find the gradient at x is equal to 3? Put it in your calculator. You want the gradient of the function at x is equal to 3. So you just use this formula and you would have x square plus 9x raised to minus 1. Since we are finding the derivative, we do not need the constant because the derivative of the constant is always 0. So we don't need this derivative, so I will ignore it. At x is equal to 3. So I get the gradient of the curve at x is equal to 3 is how much? This is 5. Okay. Now I know that the gradient of the curve is equal to the gradient of the tangent at x is equal to 3. That means in my tangent equation, the equation of the tangent that I have, what is the equation of my tangent? The equation of my tangent is y is equal to mx plus c. So I have my m as 5. Now I need to find c. That means I have the x coordinate and I want to find the y coordinate to complete this equation. It's very important to note here that the c is the y-intercept. Okay, the place where it crosses the x-axis. Now what will I do is I already know my x is equal to 3. Okay, so I will try to find y. So what will I do? I will just substitute 3 in the equation to find y. So x is equal to 3. Just substitute in your equation. So my equation is, instead of x, I will write 3. So 3 square plus 9, 3 raised to minus 1 minus 3. So this is going to give me y is equal to 9. So my coordinates are x is 3, y is 9. This I will substitute in the equation to get the y-intercept. So y is 9, x is 3 plus c. Okay, so I will get the value of c. So how will I get this value? Just solve this. I'm sure you know how to solve this. So 9 is equal to 15 plus c. So I'm just going to remove c 15 from both the places. So 9 minus 15 is going to give me minus 6 is equal to c. So c is equal to minus 6. So my equation of the line would be c is minus 6. So the equation of the tangent to the graph at x is equal to 3 would be y is equal to, what is the gradient? Gradient is 5. That is, I have the m and I have the c. So the equation of the tangent to the line at x is equal to 3 would be y is equal to, gradient is 5, mx minus 6, that is the value of c. So this is all related to the gradient of the curves at different points.